Hello and welcome, everybody. We are here live, and I'm going to have two very special guests. We're going to start with one of them, and we're going to bring in the other one in just a little while. For the record, we are here with Terror Vision, which has been around for quite some time. But I'm also kind of excited because we don't normally do this on Wednesday nights. Usually, we get a lot of people here on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So, we're going to jump in and get right into talking to TerrorVision. And first up, we got Ryan Graveface. Ryan, thanks for showing up, even though you're not feeling 100%.
Hey, thank you for having me.
We generally come on here and we talk to a lot of labels and we do these pre-recorded shows. And one of the things that I'm excited about is you and Brad have both been doing stuff like this for quite some time. So there's a lot of stuff that we can get into. I wanted to remind everybody, one of the things that I put in the post tonight, though, we can talk about pretty much everything. Let's not talk about rights on certain movies or music endeavors. That's always a just pointless road to go down because there's so many different things that can fall apart there. You obviously got something funny to say about that?
That's the only thing I want to talk about, so...
Yeah, rights about Prom Night 2, why that's not out yet on TerrorVision is always going to be that number one question, I'm sure.
Actually, I think Elves is the number one.
Elves.
Yeah.
That's God, yeah. Elves, Iced, Prom Night 2, and probably a couple more like that are the ones that I read everywhere. People just pissed off that we don't have a copy of in our hands yet.
I mean, I kind of annoyed people by putting out the Elves soundtrack, but not
right.
But the score was much easier. That's why.
That's how it works. Speaking of the score, I mean, you've been doing vinyl stuff for years. What year was the first year of that? Was it 2013, I think, or 2014?
Late. I don't think I actually put out anything on TerrorVision until the very beginning of 2015. But Graveface has been around for
ever. Yeah.
I mean, like one of my employees today, because I have 9 physical locations. I was in one of my stores today, and the guy said, "You've been doing this half your life," and I almost burst into tears. I was like, "Oh my god, that's a terrible thing to hear." I don't know why. I didn't like it.
Really kind of summarizes it for you. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, I'm fucking old, and I sure as shit feel old, and I've done a lot of stuff. But yeah, Graveface has put out 182 records in 21 years, and we've actually put out a couple movies on Graveface that the newer TerrorVision people probably aren't familiar with. That they're terrible movies, so I'm not going to promote them. But
right.
The film stuff started with Graveface, and then I just saw there was like a clash between the sort of indie rock or whatever fan that we had at Graveface, and then what I was starting to introduce with what ended up becoming TerrorVision. So I smartfully just completely did a separate company, and I'm glad that I did, because they are very different beasts, especially now.
Especially now. And speaking of now, let's bring in the other partner. We've got Mr. Brad Henderson. Brad, what's going on?
You're welcome. I'm late.
It has been a long time since I've seen you, so I'm glad that you would come back. And now that we've got Ryan and Brad, I will reiterate, no questions about licensing for certain titles.
No. I mean, I always say that because it always just ends up to be like, what about this? What about that? It's like, okay, like, I mean, a couple, we'll obviously say that. I mean, we know, I've been doing this for a long time, so I can, certain titles always pop up. And the thing is, either they're being worked on or they're just impossible, which happens a lot. But yeah, no, I thank you for having me again. I've been on the show a couple times, right?
I think this is only number 2. However, the first time we talked for ages, the first time it was like a 4-hour show. So it maybe feels like a couple times. In fact, I think you and I talked for like an hour after we went off air too.
I apologize. So sorry.
Don't. That's what we live for here. So yeah, we were just talking about the beginning of Graveface and then how that spawned off into TerraVision, and now Brad's here. But first of all, what has changed since 2014? Because obviously, physical media has been on the verge of dying like 7 times since you started Graveface, and yet here we are in 2023 with Waxwork building their own pressing plant and Jack White petitioning the major labels to start their own pressing plants in the US, and so much just seems to be completely reinvigorating the market. So how does it feel like it's evolved over the years for you?
I mean, nothing has changed for me. I mean, if you think about it, like when Graveface started putting out records in 1892, we sold out of everything. Like it was not a. If you think about it, I started putting out records before my contemporaries, like Sub Pop wasn't releasing vinyl at the moment, right? And, I'm trying to think of other 4AD wasn't putting out records, and all the sort of contemporaries we have. So we were only moving 500 units, but we sold out of everything. So it just didn't seem. It's so weird to me to see all these vinyl revival articles every goddamn week in like Entertainment Weekly and shit. It's like it's been there, man. Like,
right.
I wasn't a CD guy. I only collected vinyl, so it didn't seem strange to release records to me. So the only difference now is the quantities are more, but not by drastic amounts. Just 2,000 copies instead of 500, and I don't know. I feel like we've somehow created our own little universe, for better or worse, and we don't seem to be affected by a whole lot, which I guess is good.
Well, with 9 physical locations, that's a very good thing. That's a crazy endeavor to be going through in 2023.
It's I'm even opening a mall location, which is maybe the dumbest thing I've ever done. So.
There's a lot of articles about malls lately too. So yeah, just going all in on those articles.
Everything is dying. Nothing is fucking dying except for maybe my wallet. But other than that, everything's fine.
And yet we hear from Brad on Twitter like every other day that he's trying to sign like 90 titles. So there must be nothing out there to get. How's that going?
Well, I mean, Ryan will probably go off on me on that, but no, I mean, there's a lot. I mean, to kind of jump right into it, and something that we're trying to make things work is kind of TerraVision doesn't really have a brand,
right?
And that's what we're going to try to kind of promote in a way. Obviously, is TerraVision doesn't have a brand. You're not going to know what to expect. You may get something from the 50s. You're going to get something from 2023. You may get a kids movie, you may get an action movie, you may get a horror film. We're trying to kind of recreate the video stores, what we've been kind of saying to ourselves and in Ryan and I's conversations. Because when you went into a video store, there wasn't a brand. They just had everything. I mean, yeah, they had maybe more horror films at some of the locations, and that's probably what we'll have. But for the most part, like, I enjoy cinema in general, so everything can be a released in my eyes. That I just think the only stipulations with TerraVision is that Ryan or myself have to love it. And that way we can curate it. We don't want to do package deals on bullshit. We don't want to get a film because it's just, it's there or it's, given to us. I mean, movies get passed to companies all the time.
Oh yeah.
You have filmmakers reach out and say, oh, I got my, my elements, I own the rights. Well, the movie's not very good. I mean, it's cool. I mean, hopefully somebody else can do it that likes it, but maybe we don't. And that's the one thing that we are focusing on is stuff that we thoroughly enjoy and love. And it's going to be a wide range of things, and it's going to be really weird. Some things are going to be off kilter. I think everything's going to be a little odd that we do because it's so different in the grand scheme of things. So.
Well, and so far it seems like I've seen a few people call TerrorVision a shot on video label, which I've laughed about because I mean, even the first, the 2 out of the first 3 titles weren't even shot on video. I don't think. If I'm remembering right.
WNUF, Video Violence 1 and 2, Attack of the Killer Refrigerator, and then Copperhead that we announced in Horror Workout. But I mean, I know there's a misconception that Killing Spree shot on video. It's not. It's actually shot on 16. Just the elements are gone. I don't know if you can even count WNUF, but
no,
it is, but it's not at the same time. It's too contemporary, I think, to call it that. But yeah, no, we're definitely not. I mean, our second release was fucking Norway, which I saw someone in here say every release except Norway.
And they're from Norway.
I thought it was pretty funny. But no, I mean, that was, Norway's probably a pretty good example because that was a film that I saw back in 2014, I think, at a festival, and I just fell in love with it. And, it was a very ambitious title to do because we both kind of knew that it wasn't going to do well.
Right.
But there's like good and bad with that. Bad financially, but good because we want to fucking do it because we love it. And I loved it. I mean, I've been wanting to release that movie for years. So yeah, but I mean, there's going to be things like that, that we kind of know, like, we don't know our audience that, because a lot of the audience for these boutique labels, they gravitate towards more genre films and horror films, which we understand, but that's not all there is. And that's not all we're going to do. A good majority of it will be probably, but we're not going to be stuck doing that or stuck having a brand, which we're very adamant about not having. And we're also not a shot on video label.
Well, that in itself is kind of a brand too. Is just saying you don't know what it's going to be, and that's kind of the fun of it. Is that if you can attach to the 2 brains behind the label, and you seem to align even somewhat with their taste, it's kind of a really easy thing just to put the trust in somebody for a subscription, which is a wonderful transition into the fact that you guys have multiple subscriptions going on. And how are those going, first of all? Because obviously breaking away from the OCN side and becoming your own thing and starting the video club, that's a gamble. That's not something that's a guaranteed success.
It's been awesome. I mean, the past few months have been, dare I say, the most fun I've had in years and years and years.
That's so great to hear.
It's really awesome. And everyone, except for that, I got a really mean email last night, except for that guy. Everyone's been so fucking sweet. Man, I forgot about that. Brad, just wait till I tell you this.
Yeah, you didn't tell me about this. Yeah. You didn't talk much today, so.
Yeah, this is the most I've been without Brad has been over the past 24 hours, and I'm actually having Brad withdrawal. So conveniently, he has like a beautiful halo projected behind his head because of his light.
My bald head, maybe?
No,
it's the fan in the background.
Yeah, the light on your one sheet.
It's perfect.
Yeah, he looked like a beautiful angel. So. Anyways, that got way off track.
Yeah. You could tell me if you could send that to me later, but I'm curious about it because I love those things.
I don't. I made the mistake of responding, and you never respond to a fucking troll. And I was vomiting, and a moment of pukey weakness, I was like, I tried to defend myself, and he just didn't like stuff that we were putting out. Basically, I don't understand the need to write hate mail. I used to like your label, but fuck you.
Right.
Oh, man, we're gonna get plenty of that in the future.
I know. I will say that's the big difference between running like a record label and a home video label. I think is the home video crowd. They're so passionate that if you put out something they're not into, I mean, they have no qualms about telling you go fuck yourself. And it's like, sorry, I like this movie. Like, we legitimately like what we're putting out. So not everything is going to be a home run for you. And that's fucking, that seems better to me than the opposite of just picking I don't know, low-hanging fruit that will be a surefire sale because it's trending currently on Twitter or whatever. So that is, if you look at the TerraVision history on the record side of things, that's never been the has never been the intention. Sales, I don't think about sales. I think about what I want to do. So, I mean, if you look at the history of titles, it's actually kind of funny. But that's the thing. The people that join the Graveface Record Club, I mean, they really say the sweetest things, and they're like, whatever you want to send me, I will happily take it because I trust and respect your opinion. The home video side so far has been a little bit, I mean, not much, but just a hair more tense with that sort of, you know, if I join today, I better not get ... And it's like, I don't know what to tell you, brother. Like, that's not how this is going to be. Like, we're also talking about a very low, not that I'm, you know, dictating people's spending habits, but it's a low buy-in compared to, you know, a lot of our contemporaries. It's like 200 some bucks, you know, it's not, fucking sell that shit on eBay if you hate it. It's not a big deal. Not again,
very good point.
I'm not belittling. Money is precious, so I'm not saying you should be spending that 200 bucks on us. But don't give me a shitty email because you don't like fucking Copperhead or something. Like, anyways, blah blah blah. The video club's great. That's all I'm trying to say. I love running the distro and the I don't know. The clubs are between my wife and I, because she does all of our mailings. I mean, she works on the various TerraVision clubs like all fucking day, every day. You know, she's very, very responsive, and it feels like a community. So it's super nice.
Nice. I just did a unboxing for my Patreon of the most recent release, and sometimes I have my kids be a part of my unboxing. I have a 6-year-old and an 8-year-old, and I had my 6-year-old look at the cover of this and guess what this was about, and it was extremely cute. And my patrons will be getting that video tomorrow.
That's awesome.
It was amazing. I had one question here at the beginning that I thought I would, let's start this out with. They are asking about licensing. What has been the greatest hurdle in terms of acquiring properties? Is it the elements, the rights, competition with other labels? And I'll throw on an addendum to that. Is one of the things I've been hearing lately is, it's going to sound very kumbaya, but a lot of labels lately are saying it's a little bit competitive until that contract is signed. And then after that, it's just kind of great that stuff is getting released overall. So it gets less competitive after that point. And do you guys feel that same sort of environment?
Well, I mean, I think the hurdle is everything. Like, every film has a different story. Every film is a different journey. So, you know, the rights could be super complicated. You may know where the elements are, but you may not know who owns it, or vice versa. A lot of times it is just finding the elements.
Right.
The competition of labels, I mean, that's obviously getting a little, I mean, it's like starting your own labels, kind of like starting your own garage band or podcast at this point. Like anybody, like a lot of people are doing it. So there is that competition in the sense, but I think what helps us, again, to reiterate, is that we're doing everything.
Yep.
So there's no brand, there's no shtick.
I don't think competition's been too bad.
We haven't run into any competition. I mean, things get announced and it's like, oh shit, like we were actually emailing about that and it was already announced. So, but that probably happened years ago, because I mean, typically, you know, it's a long turnaround time to get something signed and get it out there and released, you know, just depending on what the situation is. Like certain things we could probably turn around quickly. And that does happen. You know, you'll sign something, it's like, oh shit, well, let's get this out, either because maybe it was a high cost, you know, amount. We want to get it out, you know, because we're sitting on a lot of money. But like I said, everything's kind of a different story. So
makes perfect sense. Let's see. John Peters says Attack of the Killer Refrigerator is 17 minutes of bliss.
Thank you, John.
And he is subbing here real soon. That's been something that we've been talking about in the Discord quite a bit lately for our Patreon. That is the amount of people that are jumping on and that are happy with most of the releases. Is there, it seems like Norway is the one that you guys are looking at that hasn't had the best response yet. Is there one that maybe is like an overwhelmingly positive response so far?
I mean, WNUF is definitely the best seller.
Right.
And it's fucking incredible. But
that does help.
Norway is only problematic because I just don't think people want to read like that. A lot. I mean, of course, these aren't blanket statements, but I think the percentage of people, I don't know. Foreign film is a tricky beast with the domestic market, I think.
Yeah, I get
that. Yeah, it's something that we talk about, and we knew again Norway wasn't going to do well, but there is. I guess it just depends. It was a high cost as well through the route that we went with it for distribution, so that didn't really help.
True.
But with things that we have under our own control at this point, with future titles and quite a few foreign titles.
Yes.
Because I gravitate more to the foreign cinema, I guess, a little bit. So definitely expect a ton of foreign films, 100%. But
people are canceling their subscriptions right now. They're about to hit buy, Brad. Website to hit buy.
I think it just depends. I think people are more tolerant with older foreign films and newer foreign films.
Yeah.
So that has been something that we've kind of looked at recently with a couple decisions. Not that we're not going to sign the films, but we are a little slower in acquiring some newer foreign films. But they're still on our radar. And when you get to the foreign stuff, it's really difficult to find the rights half the time, and especially dealing with film elements, because most countries where the art is kind of governed by the government, they won't ship the elements out. So you have to kind of work within their means and what they have, which sometimes it can be a little tough. We are dealing with a country right now where the elements were so kind of, they quote unquote said dilapidated and like just kind of falling apart. And I said it, is there a possibility to rescan the film? Because, it's an older scan. It's still HD. It still looks good. But I felt that maybe we could improve on it.
Right.
And they just said it's just not possible. They don't really have, scanners to do the business. They don't really want to ship their film elements out of their country. And in the country, they don't actually have a good scanner, or a decent scanner, I should say. Or let's say a great scanner. They have a decent scanner. But, scanned a few years ago, and I feel obviously we could do a better job with our, history and knowledge and our capabilities. And sometimes that, and this will kind of segue into another conversation, is that at TerraVision, one of the things that we believe and we will be doing, so we can have more people unsubscribe, is that there's a lot of companies that don't look at certain films because of the film elements not being 100%. In that sense, I mean, sometimes there are no film elements.
Right.
And there's only like maybe tape masters. There might be an older scan and they can't rescan it because the film is falling apart and this is the best they'll ever get. We will try our best in every release to give the best possible presentation that we can. But the whole preservation aspect for TerraVision is that we will not, just because it's like we'll go to a film and say, hey, where's the elements? And they're like, oh, they were destroyed 20 years ago.
Yep.
Most companies would say, okay, too bad. See you later.
Not us.
Yeah, huh? I know I'm doing that because it's like, why wouldn't you still want to get the film out?
Right.
You know, and there's still a restoration process with this stuff. You know, we're not, you know, the last resort would be taking a tape, like a release tape, and digitizing it.
which we
That's
haven't had to do yet.
But
Luckily.
that's not how these things are really preserved. They're on, you know, beta SPs or 1-inch masters, quarter-inch masters, whatever it may be. And that's the prime example with Horror Workout. When we were acquired Horror Workout, we were afraid we were going to have to use a release tape for that. But with consistent kind of breaking down and finding, we found the original film elements, which I mean is still video, but it is like actual reels of video. So it's the best quality that you'll ever get from it. And we found the original sound elements. So we can actually remaster the sound, which is crazy.
Yeah.
That'd
be awesome.
You know, that's not going to happen for everything, but it happened with this one. So yeah, you have something shot on video that, you know, quote unquote looks like shit, but you can actually still make it look really great. And that's like same thing with Copperhead. You know, Copperhead looks fucking incredible.
Copperhead looks so fucking good.
Yeah, and it's and that's what we're doing. And obviously, both of those are shot on video, but we are dealing with quite a few films that only have tape elements because you know some of these films in the early '90s, and I'm sure people that follow boutique labels and see these forums and comments and stuff, is that a lot of times these movies are, you know, shot on film and then they're all edited on tape. And a lot of times those elements are just thrown away.
Yep.
So there is no master, there is no reconstruction of the negative because they're literally in the trash 30 years ago, 40 years ago. So they're not obtainable anymore.
Yeah.
But there are tape masters that do exist. And we're not talking about release tapes. We're actually talking about, you know, actual tape masters. And we've got a hold of a lot of that stuff. And we're able to do the best presentation it's ever had, better than even a release tape on VHS when they did it in the 90s. So that's the one thing we can promise is every film we've exhausted every avenue in order to try to find material. Maybe even if the material's fucked up, we can still maybe try to salvage something. We're dealing with that right now with an Italian movie that we found a print of it, and it's like apparently it's beat to fucking shit. I think they're only want to charge us like $100 for the. So it's probably not even usable, but we'll, you know, we might take a
shot.
Yeah, it's like, you know, because there's so many films that are kind of lost to time because a lot of companies overlooked, you know, the film just because of what is the best presentation. Oh, it can't be 4K. Pass. I don't believe in that. We don't believe in that. I just realized you have the Friday the 13th mask thing. I have that right there.
Nice.
Too. Take a picture of it and send it to you. But anyways, but yeah.
This is a good segue for this then, because I've always wanted to share with people something related to saving the shot on video films, because not a lot of companies really focused on it all that much, and I don't think people understand the breadth of what is possible out there, because there are countless films people have never literally heard of that are hidden gems that people will genuinely love if you ever get an opportunity to see many of these. And saving them, you know, you get something like the Attack of the Killer Refrigerator, you get a Santa Claus that looks really great. Even, you know, this Video Violence release made a lot of headlines when that first came out because people were so excited to see it finally, and they're coming out on Blu-ray. And a lot of these people that follow these labels, they don't understand that something that's shot on video, you can still get merit out of putting it on Blu-ray, other than the fact that it's the format that sells the most for these boutiques. So obviously it should be on Blu-ray for that aspect, but you can fit a shit ton more features on there, and you guys are doing your best to do that. So can you go through a little bit of the restoration process, how difficult that is, why it's worth it, and what your mission is with some of these?
You can talk, Ryan. I talk too much.
I love to hear you talk.
Don't we all?
I mean, everything is case by case. So like video violence is owned by Razzo, Pop Cinema, Alterum Cinema / the new Camp Video. And he had really nice elements for it. And he actually does these sort of transfers for a living now. He's kind of gotten away from putting out his nudie cuties and all that stuff. And that's really how he makes a living. So
right.
I knew if it was in his hands, it would look fucking phenomenal. And honestly, Razzo fucking crushed it on that release. Like, video violence looks great, you know. And that's, luckily, I haven't heard anyone be like, "Why the fuck did I spend money on this?"
Exactly.
You know? It's so it's
the restoration on Santa Claus, which is probably one of the best things ever.
It looks incredible.
Yeah, he did that as well. Yeah, he's. I don't even know what wizardry he's doing, but it's great. I mean, all this shit should be saved. All this shit should be preserved. All this stuff, it's worth, the thousands and thousands of dollars that TerraVision and our contemporaries. I mean, there's plenty of labels right now that are focusing on shot on video exclusively, whereas that's not our exclusive thought. But I love it, and Brad loves it. Right. So of course we want to tuck them in as much as possible, but it is neat to see people actually celebrating these films. I feel more so today than I mean, I haven't heard this much talk of shot on video in like a long time,
Yeah, no, I would talk about it for years. No one would know what the fuck I was talking about.
So it's really,
now it's just correcting people and knowing what actually is shot on video and what's not, which is now a thing, which now you feel like a dick because you're like, well, actually,
yeah, you got to get that nerdy interjection in there. Well, no, Killing Spree was shot in 16.
Which again, in some of this stuff, like we do have a line of films coming out that we are using tape masters for, and they look great, but damn it. I was watching it and I was like, is it shot? It's not shot on video. Is it shot on? I don't think so. It can't be shot on
these things are shot on film and edited on tape. So
right.
Yeah.
Like it is hard to tell.
Yeah, because a lot of those times the text that you see, on a film, it's added, through the video process. So that text that looks like, cheap like shit, that's actually added in that process of editing and on tape. And that's one of the ways you could tell if a movie is edited on tape by the credits that pop up. They have a very cheap look. But yeah, Ryan, like Ryan was saying, when you have a film that's shot on film and even the lower, even if you have 16 millimeter, shooting on 8mm, 16mm, and that's transferred to video and then edited on video, and then that's what you're seeing, it looks like tape sometimes. Yep. It really does. And, a lot of things for example, is actually shot on film. It's not shot on video, which is a big misconception. Mutilations, I think, is one of them. He's another one that's shot on 16, and that's just how it goes. It is easy to make the mistake, but we'll always be honest with what we're doing. We're not gonna be like, haha, surprise, as a tape master. No, we'll be very honest with hey, this is not going to be 4K UHD.
Right.
But to piggyback off that doesn't really change the process for us. Because I know there's been some talk of well, if it's just tape, why isn't it cheaper?
Yeah.
Well, it's still not. There's still a process in transferring this.
I do hear that all the time. That's with the TAC. I forgot about that. I did get some hate mail for that.
Yeah, Attack, the Killer Refrigerator, was incredibly expensive because even though that's 17 minutes, there's still 5 things on that disc.
Yeah,
exactly.
But all those were, like Days Before Christmas is actually shot on film, but they've misplaced, and they don't know where the film elements are. We tried, with something like that. That was like a tape master. But the point is that getting the rights. Sometimes the rights aren't any cheaper because they like a ownership in like a filmmaker doesn't look at the film as they don't really understand
Of
like
course.
the process. They just look at it as, oh, I made that movie for $1 million, so what are you going to pay me?
Yep.
It's not like we can be like, well, we can only give you $100 because we're dealing with a VHS tape. No, it's still the process of the same, pretty much the same license fee, but also getting those elements, shipping those elements, processing all that stuff. Like we're not at home with our with our VCR, hooking it up through like another system and burning a DVD. That's not how it works. It goes through these tape decks, and there's a whole process. And obviously, doing a little bit of up-res, trying to get the color right. There's just a whole bunch of shit that has to be done. So, and honestly, sometimes the price point isn't based on the work that we do. It's based on the whole project as a whole. And we put just as much time and effort into things that are shot on video. Look at well, you can't yet, but on Tuesday, when the extras are released for Copperhead, people will ask, why is there so much extras on Copperhead? But that's the thing is like, we want to pack full these releases with material, with behind the scenes stuff, with, alternate versions, bonus films, whatever we can, in order to make it worth it for the $24.99 the movies are charged, which that's our, pretty much our basic price point, unless you're a subscriber, and then you get it for $22.50, free shipping in the US. So yeah.
That is a great way to say this as well. People react when they hear about these that they are basically charged immediately as soon as they're announced, and they feel obligated to buy things. But it's their money, and if they want to do it better, start their own label. And many people are doing that. It seems like nowadays.
Yeah.
We got one here. Been buying TerrorVision with Vinegar Syndrome. That was glad to subscribe as soon as it was available through you. Been having a blast. Look forward to and excited for more future releases.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Yeah, it's gonna be. We're excited for the future. It's hard to not spill the beans online every day for me.
Right.
Ryan doesn't have that problem because he's not on social media, but I actually do. Like, I enjoy Twitter. I met plenty of people. I've met plenty of connections. I've utilized it in a sense to where I do care about it. Fuck Elon Musk, fuck Twitter Blue, fuck all that shit.
Same.
But I still like it because it gets you to talk to so many people. And if it wasn't for Twitter, we probably would have never started talking. I don't know.
Yep.
So there's a lot of aspects to it. I've met a lot of friends, but anyways, that's a whole different story. But yeah, it's hard not to spill the beans because I get so goddamn excited over shit, and and also it's like one of those things where I think, Ryan and I've discussed this, amongst ourselves with people considering us like a shot on video label. I'm like, no, we have so much, we have so much stuff ready. We have so many fucking films, so many goddamn films that we've signed.
Be patient,
and
Brad.
It ranges from everything, foreign films, American films, shot on video, shot on film. We even have brand new movies. We have movies that aren't even released yet, like to the public. Like we have we acquired like brand new movies. And that might be a shocker to some people. So it's like, we have a lot I feel like, I have a lot to prove in this sense of, stepping away from my previous stuff and doing this, full time, which I love. That's one of the reasons why Ryan and I clicked, is that we both share the same passions for this stuff and like the same weird shit. And I got tired of being kind of tied down to a certain thing, because I love everything. I've been wanting to release the line for fucking like over 8 years. When I started working at Wild Eye releasing shit, I wanted to get end of the line. Thankfully, we didn't because we got to do it. But that was a lot of stuff I was looking at. I was looking at contemporary stuff, shot on video. But anyways, yeah, it's just like it's going to be a fun ride, and we hope that people stick around. And if you just want to pick up titles here and there, that's fucking fine too.
Exactly.
But we will be releasing something that you will like. It just may not be everything.
It's a good point. But that's the thing, is if they align or feel like they even align with both of your taste, I mean, it's the perfect way to jump in on some of these, because with the subscription, you get free shipping, you get access to the wholesale side of the TV site, you get all kinds of stuff. It is absolutely worth it.
Yeah.
One thing to throw out there, now that you brought up OCN, is there's multiple partner labels that have now left, and obviously you can't give great detail, but what was it like separating? Was there a reason for you all to feel like you should separate from the OCN side? Was it you've seen so much growth in the last year that now you feel like you can do it on your own? Obviously all kinds of people speculate, and the best way to hear it is from the source.
God. I'm a control freak. We'll just put it that way. Like there were a lot of odd restrictions. Like, one that is an innocent example that I feel I can say without offending anyone, because I don't want to offend anyone.
Right.
Because I actually still like all those people.
Yeah, I mean, I still have a good relationship, so
Of course.
there's nothing broken. There's nothing broken with that.
No. But like, one of the things that I thought was strange right out of the gate is they brought in so many partner labels that then they told us we couldn't put out a release every month. And I was like, we've got 20 movies booked, and we just started working with you. Like, so that's why, I mean, if you look at the release calendar, you'll see like certain labels don't have a release on certain months. That's not necessary. I mean, again, these aren't blanket statements, but that's not necessarily because the label doesn't have a release. That's because OCN dictates who can release what when. I don't gel well with that, because Brad and I are super similar, and like, we're very spontaneous. I mean, like, I've randomly announced the My Bloody Valentine tape on, I think it was 2:30 in the morning or something Monday, and that was, it may have seemed like a plan. It wasn't. I was like, fuck it, it's out, and my point is, like, my brain doesn't work well with a 12-month calendar, and I have to tell you in January what I'm going to put out in December, and how many units we want to do, and point being, it's just a little too. I think the simplest word is it's a little too corporate.
Yeah, you want a little more freedom. Totally makes sense.
It's interesting to me because I come from the music world, right? So, I mean, I've been with Sony, I've been with Warner Brothers. I'm talking on like a distributor end of things, not label side, but on a distro end of things. And the interesting little nugget that I'll give you, which is not a diss, I just think it's interesting. OCN was the most corporate of all of, I mean, like, far more than Sony, and it's just an interesting, it's working for them, so it's clearly they have an idea and they're sticking to it, and it's great for them. And I'm, as a fan, excited to buy that shit. So it's not like there's no, I mean, I literally own every Culture Shock title, and I can't wait to buy more. So it's not, there's no bad blood there. I just, for me as a creative, it's hard to be handcuffed into someone else's vision and then not get any of the credit. Right. Point taken, I had a screening of My Bloody Valentine last night in Charleston, and I had two separate, now we're just talking two people at a screening of like 76 people. Two people came up to me and asked specifically why I was selling Vinegar Syndrome's release of Video Violence at my table. And I wanted to cry, punch them, and slit my own throat, because it's, And now I'm not looking for credit in life. It's not about that, but it's when you're a partner label, the fans of Vinegar Syndrome almost don't seem to really care who's actually creating the content. And Vinegar Syndrome didn't do anything for video violence, you know, or any of our titles. It's not like they're working on special features. They're not paying the licensing fee. They're not paying the artist. They're not paying the designer. They're not paying. I mean, they're literally a distro, a traditional distro. That's it. So for them to get 100% of the credit and most of the money, it's a hard, for me. I'm such a fucking psycho, and I'm aware of that. I need to be on my own little island, which is why I don't engage in social media land and all that shit, because I don't play well with others. So it just didn't work for our purposes. And Graveface, if you think about it, has had a distro for over 20 years. So I was like, why don't we just bail from OCN and do it ourselves? Because even if we sell 300 to 500 less units per title, we'll make 5 times the amount of money because of what they're taking. So it just made no sense to stick around, honestly. But that being said, I feel like what they did for me was paramount, right? TerraVision previously had just been a vinyl company, so it does mean a lot that they, to a certain group of people that wanted to pay attention to the partner labels and give credit, they did introduce us to that audience, and for that I literally couldn't be more grateful. So I'm not like bummed about the past or anything. I just I really respect them as a company, and they'll be fine without me. They're doing fine. So it's not like they don't need my 1,000 copies sold of video violence. It's not going to make or break them as a company.
Right. That credit thing is why I do a lot of what I do on here, because I've seen so many random ass comments of places online where people, they'll mention Vinegar Syndrome put out They Look Like People, or this random partner label title that had literally nothing to do with Vinegar Syndrome, and it's just being hosted on their site.
Yeah.
So many people don't grasp that you even have to go to a completely different portion of the site to go see those releases. It's not a normal thing. It's not. I don't know. That's why I want to talk to people like you guys and get the faces behind it, to realize if you are not crediting the people that actually worked hard to do this, it's going to be more difficult for them to do something in the future, potentially, because it doesn't build that reputation if you're taking away from their reputation. So I'm just glad that you guys are taking that step to make your own statement and make your own little place in the world.
Yeah, and to speak it fairly in the grand scheme of things, is that, I mean, rightfully so, they have to put a cap on stuff. They'll have hundreds of titles every month, and it's just not possible. But that said, it was hard to put a cap for TerraVision because, we do have a couple hundred titles like in the can ready to go. If we did one a month, it would take us fucking like 15 years, to do so. And sometimes, sometimes we have to pull a release, right? So if we had that one release ready to go in the can, and Horror Workout, prime example. Oh shit! Last minute, I found the elements for this. Right. What can we do? It's like, oh shit, we'll grab. Let's just push it. And now it's in April, and we can actually do the upgrade without being locked into something, which is something that we need to do because these things change so frequently. And plus, it's just fucking Ryan and myself. We have obviously our help, and we have a place that does our scanning and stuff. And, we have restoration artists. We have a place that does our tapes. But really it's just him. And, I'm doing the extras still, and that takes fucking forever. So we need to have wiggle room, and doing it ourselves, we have that. And that actually helps quite a bit.
That's good. Speaking of the number that you just gave, we have a Discord for the Patreon for this channel, and Brad recently joined. And Brad in our Discord shared some information, said that by the end of the year we might be up to around spine 60.
God damn it, Brad! What are you doing?
It's very possible that is the projected thing. Yeah. So we plan on, if things move. Quiet, Ryan. If things move
Diarrhea.
if things move in the way that we want them to, and we gradually, because we want to increase our output,
right?
Essentially, what's going to happen is that we're at 2 titles, which is just one more. It's not a big jump, but we are aiming for 3 the next month. After we get End of the Line and Copperhead out. And if things keep going smoothly, yes, we will, because we want to increase our output because we have so many titles signed and we're not slowing down on signing anything.
Tell them how many we're thinking for October, Brad. Why don't you tell them how many?
That's nothing I was going to announce. Well, what we want to do, which we think would be cool if it works out, this obviously is not a promise. So don't take this to heart with everybody that listens to this, because I know how things work online. We want to plan something special for October, because it will, October is a special time. We're obsessed with Halloween. So we want to be shipping stuff out on October 1st to have in your hands, but we're aiming for about 10 titles. And,
wow. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, we had that meeting. We had that meeting last week where we were talking about, maybe doing 5 a month, because we have so many fucking titles right now.
Right.
And I was like, dude, what about 10 in October? I said it as a fucking joke, and Brad's like, yeah, 10 in October. And then I looked at we have a schedule, and I looked at it, and he had moved some titles to October. I'm like, all right. I'm here for it. That's the only month I fucking care about. So if we in October, if we miss, 4 in May or 5 in May or whatever, and we hit 10 in October, I'm here for it.
That's impressive.
And I will say, I know the main question we're gonna get is how would that affect subscriptions moving forward? I have no fucking clue. I don't know. I have no idea.
Of course.
I mean, that's like an entire subscription. I wasn't, when we first came up with the subscription, we didn't think we would be able to acquire so much so quickly. And it's been not easy is not the right word, because nothing is easy about what we're doing, but I don't know. It's been easier than I had expected. And thus, it's like, if you stick to the 1 a month for the next 10 months sort of thing, just to keep up with the sub model as we have it, we're doing us and these titles a service, obviously.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We will, of course, figure it out and make an announcement, and no one's going to get screwed over. We're going to keep.
Yeah, nothing's going to get screwed. We have to actually get to that point before we start restructuring the sub. We may just fucking fail and only be able to do 2 a month because we're idiots. Who knows? But the goal is to put out more. And once we actually achieve that, and we're like, okay, this is what we can do comfortably, then we will adjust the sub, and there will be an announcement. But everything's going to work out, and there's been a couple questions, and we can answer that. If you have your sub right, and we announced 5 titles in July, and you've already hit your 7, you will get the first 3 out of that 5.
Then you could
they're all numbered. So you will still get your 10 titles. But yeah, you have to, it's just, if you want to re-up, then you re-up, and then you get the next 10 or the next 20 or the next 25, whatever we develop in the sense of the structure of, but the changes of the price concerning per title will not change unless it's like a UHD or a bigger box set. You know, we do have multi-films on sets, but we don't really plan on we still have to figure that out. But it just depends on the movies. You know, like, I mean, right now, I mean, Copperhead is going to have 2 movies on it, you know, but we're not charging, you know, an extra $3. It's still the same price, you know.
Right.
And you're all going to fucking flip out when you see Motorhome from Hell. Not in a good way. I don't know how people are going to respond to Motorhome from Hell. It's fucking wild. It's crazy.
I think the best way of viewing TerraVision in 2023 is it is going to be a year filled with growing pains, which is really exciting, honestly, because I've been flying solo for 20 years with Graveface and with TerraVision, you know, since late 2014. And so to finally have a partner like Brad, who's, I mean, we text at like 1 a.m. about acquisitions that then we're like researching when we should be sleeping, you know?
Yeah, we both have the same work. That's the thing that benefits me, because I've always needed someone that's, you know, schizophrenic in the sense of like, let's just try to do everything all at once. And you know, we work all the time. It's not even work.
No, it's fun as shit. It's
like we love what we do, so it's just nice to know like I can send an email or a question, you know, late in the evening to get an answer, or I get stupidly excited about something because this 1960s German musical people, rights owners, got back to me and said, yeah, it's available. And I'm like, you're kidding. And I like start shaking and I'm like, oh my God, I have to tell somebody. There might be a 60s German musical coming. That's not a lot. I text Ryan this morning about it.
As I'm like vomiting everywhere. But it was nice to read. But I just think this year is going to be, it's going to be challenging, and I'm excited about it because we're going to have to hire more people in the warehouse. Like my wife and I mean, like I said, I run 9 companies, and Brad doesn't live here, so it's not like he can, you know, be doing some of the bullshit that Chloe and I have to be doing all day, every day. But not bullshit in a bad sense, bullshit in like sort of mundane clerical stuff. But we're gonna have to hire more people to ship the stuff out, and we're probably going to need to hire someone to help with special features. And we're definitely in a growing pain phase, and we just started. It feels like we just started a new company, even though it's been around since 2014. So it's fun, man. I don't know. I'm loving every second of it, and hope that we don't stress people out too much.
Yeah, and we're trying to grow very rapidly, because we know what we have to do. So we're not slowing down. And we also think, and this isn't a negative thing or I'm trying to be snarky, but I think a lot of people are underestimating what we're going to do.
I agree.
And what we're capable of.
Oh, yeah.
Because we're so small and new, but that doesn't change. That doesn't mean anything. Some companies, sure, but not us. I mean, I think we're really going to knock some people flat with some shit that we have coming up. And it's kind of hard to not talk about it.
It's so easy for me to not talk about it. It's so hard.
It's so easy for you. I get too excited about movies.
I mean, I'm excited too. You're just adorable. And I love the element of surprise where you just want to like fart it all out.
Hey, I give little clues. Clues are fun, you know. Like someone said in here, what did they say? Something about the German,
German films,
the German ones that you mentioned on Twitter. Yeah, I mean, we have, you know, some German splatter films that have never made it out of Germany before that we're super excited about. You know,
it's exciting, and
yeah, it's everything. Like I said, it's going to be. I saw someone say in here about Russian films. Oh, trust me, my Russian film knowledge goes pretty deep, and I'm working on a few things, so there's quite a bit there.
There is what seems like an abundance of potential energy that you guys have each had, and because of various, mostly just logistical reasons, not been able to release that. And now that this partnership is there, it's just everybody grab a hold because it's about to take the fuck off. And that it is exciting to be able to feel that. And with the way that you guys speak on it, you can feel that excitement. It's
That's cool.
It's amazing.
That's nice to hear, because I feel like a schizophrenic lunatic. So,
Well, you can look at our lineup and it feels schizophrenic. Just look at what we've already done and released, you know. But I mean that's what we kind of want to keep up. We want to keep that momentum. We also like, so a big part of what I like to do and what I am excited about the future for TerraVision, that, you know, I was, you know, kind of chained with, because I obviously I love everything I did at Vinegar Syndrome, and I still love Vinegar Syndrome.
Right.
And I'm still proud of everything that, you know, I've done there. And then also, I mean, there's just a slew of films that I acquired that aren't even out yet.
Yeah.
So of course, I'm still going to champion those. But the cool thing that I like to do, and I'm able to do it a little bit more with TerraVision with Ryan, is that it's really cool to live vicariously through having people watch these films. And that's what I really love, because, you know, whether it's Copperhead, End of the Line, or something new, like, we're able to see kind of the reactions of people, positive or negative. But it is kind of neat, because I always say, like, the thing that sucks about movies the most is that you can't see a movie for the first time again.
That's true.
But a way to achieve that, in a way, as if you have, like, you know, a kid or something like that, you can watch it with them, and then you kind of feel, you get that energy, you know, of watching it for the first time again.
Yep.
And, you know, I did that with my daughter for years. I mean, she's 17 now, but as growing up, like, it was incredible, because, you know, every film you would watch, sometimes even if you rewatch something, you know, with them, I mean, you know, you said you have kids.
Oh yeah.
It's like you get to almost experience that. Or if you go to the theater and you watch a film, and I love when, you know, the moderator or something says, you know, raise your hand if you haven't seen this. And I love when people raise their hand, because most people are like, oh, these idiots haven't seen, because this is one of the best experiences I've had. Was I went to a Fantastic Fest. I forget what year it was, but it was when Phantasm Ravager was coming out.
Ooh.
But yeah, I know, right? But before that, they screened the thing with the original Phantasm with the restoration that, you know, J.J. Abrams helped put together. Well, we're sitting in theaters packed, like 400 seats, and the moderator says, "Who hasn't seen Phantasm?" And I'm like, "Come on. This is a fucking horror film festival." I look back, and it's just 80%.
Yeah.
Hands raised. I got so goddamn excited. So I'm like, oh my God, this many people are getting, because Phantasm's like one of my all-time favorite films. And so, like, watching that with the audience and not really hearing anybody do anything, because I don't think they knew what they were going to expect, because it is such a wacky movie. But that was just so much fun. It's fun watching, you know, a film with the audience. I mean, we did, because we always have crazy things going up. I don't even think that some people knew that Ryan had stores. But we're confirmed in October, right? That date in October that we talked about?
I mean, the theater's holding it for us. 2-day fest.
Yeah. So last year we did a TerraVision kind of festival for a day.
Yep.
And we screened 6 movies? 5 movies, 6 movies?
I think it was 6, yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to hopefully be doing that again this year, October 6th and 7th in Savannah. Possibly. Not 100% confirmed, but looking like it. Well, we screened Sledgehammer there. And I don't think anybody saw Sledgehammer that was in that theater. But hearing people cheer and clap and laugh during every slow-mo scene that happens in that movie, it was just so joyous.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, like people are actually enjoying this movie. Like I didn't know that normal people, or I don't know if they're normal or not.
You're not.
Probably not, because they enjoyed it. But people were cheering and sledgehammer. I'm like, that's incredible. It's so great. And if we can do that with our titles, which full circle, which I'm coming back to, that's amazing. I'll love, and that's the thing is, I love the response at the end of the line today, because I've never heard anybody talk about this movie.
Yeah,
I love this movie for since I saw it at a festival in like 2007, and it's just something I don't hear talked about too much. I know Maurice's other movie Slashers gets talked about quite a bit.
Yeah.
And the line just doesn't really get mentioned all that much. And I mean, it's minimal of an experience announcing something online, but it was just all overwhelmingly positive of people that have seen it or people that are excited. And I was like, oh shit, we have a movie that people actually might really like.
Right. And that's kind of the other cool part about being TerrorVision on its own nowadays, the freedom of sharing the news that is coming out next week and or going to be available to pre-order. And when you do, that movie has its own moment. It's not caught up in 11 other partner releases, and now you get all the attention in the world.
Bing, 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 bing.
All on a film like that. And I'm glad that other companies can feel that.
Yeah, and I really hope, because everything that we release, we believe in and we like. You may not like them, but it's something that every film that we release, one of us, most of the time, both of us, find a lot of merit in.
Right.
And, our tastes are odd and broad. I didn't mean for that to rhyme, but
yeah, you did.
New shirt coming out next week.
But yeah, it's like, it's cool. I saw someone say that you said it scares you. That got people excited. Well, yeah, because I think End of the Line is actually
it's awesome.
It's actually kind of it's scary. It really is. Like I haven't seen too many films in my life. Because I've been so desensitized as a little kid. Watching Child's Play was one of the very first things I remember watching that's actively scared me, and I was probably 4 when I saw it. And my mom we talked about all that on the last show that we were on, because I talked for too long.
It's a 4-hour show.
Huh?
It's a 4-hour show.
Yeah, now let's break to a replay of that whole thing real quick.
Yeah. So, but yeah, no, it was, being desensitized, it's hard to find things that maybe make you uneasy or scare you or whatnot. And End of the Line was one of those movies where, anything like religious, like I don't come from a religious background, but anything religious always kind of gets me, and that's what, like even The Mist, with kind of like how they become, like, with the Marcia Gay Harden's character, like just kind of rallying all these people and rallying these troops into like a cult, which still happens weirdly today.
It was the most terrifying part of that whole movie.
Right. And that's the thing, because it really does happen. And, when you put a religious aspect behind something, you could really rally people into killing people. That's what End of the Line is. And I'm like, I guess that's what terrifies me, because it's so realistic, is that, you can have a cult leader that leads people, but when you mix religion in it, it becomes even more dangerous. And that's what End of the Line is to me. So that's why it scares me. It's not like, it's spooky. I mean, there is some scary shit that happens in the movie. But ultimately, like, it makes me feel like really uneasy. So, but anyways,
we have on this channel talked so many times about the feeling that some of these labels must get by sharing something that people just don't see. Like the film coming with Copperhead, somebody just said in the comments that they checked on Letterboxd and it has nothing. And in all reality, in a few weeks, that will start to have reviews pop up. And the joy of it all is not only anybody that was associated with the actual making of the movie, but the label themselves gets to see this sort of wildfire take off that they are starting in the world, and feeling that joy and light in other people that you can just start to relate to. That is what makes this community an actual community. And I'm so glad that people like you guys are sharing these lost films, because you have that talent and ability to do it, and we don't.
Well,
it's amazing.
That's very sweet of you.
I mean it. With something like Copperhead, most of us could not get something like this done, and now you're going to have hundreds and hundreds of people sharing that they just watched it over the next few months. That
I mean, I haven't searched for it in a long time, but I don't even think that shit's on YouTube, right?
Yeah, you can't. It's weird. That's why when we were promoting Copperhead in the beginning, Copperhead is essentially like almost a lost movie at this point, because the availability of it, even when it was on tape in the beginning, it was pretty scarce. And I honestly, like, I've checked a few times while we've been working on it, because I mean Copperhead we signed
2 years
a while ago. Huh?
It's been 2 years.
2 years, yeah. And I searched and I can't find anything on it, because I remember we were talking about it, and we were trying to do one of the interviews, because the lead actor we were in touch with in the beginning, like 2 years ago, and he was going to do an interview. He was pretty old and not healthy. Sadly, he did pass before we got to do the interview. But I was trying to get him a copy of the movie, and I couldn't fucking find it, like, to send. So I was like trying to upload my own like copy of it.
Right.
And then he couldn't. Like, I was like, "What's your email?" And he was like, "Can you just send it to me?" And I'm like, "Oh no." I was like, so anyways, we just had so much going on. Sadly, Jack passed away, like probably just a few months ago, because we were gonna, redo the interview or do some new interviews and everything, and sadly he passed away. But anyways, I couldn't find it. I couldn't find Copperhead anywhere. Wow. Like, even on these sketchy like third-party sites, not even YouTube, and I just couldn't find it. And I'm sure it does exist somewhere, but it's not readily available, and it is almost like this lost oddity.
Yeah.
And it's a weird movie, because it's not, with a name like Copperhead, you're thinking like these giant like fucking copperheads attacking his house or anything. No, it's just like weird. Like, it's more about guns. The movie is more about guns and bank robbing. But yeah, it's just this like really kind of odd movie made by this family, that had access to a lot of snakes. Well, because they have like a wildlife preserve that they still even do now.
Yeah.
But yeah, they own that, so they had access to the snakes and everything like that, and other animals. But yeah, it's exciting. Now, Motorhome from Hell does not have any release whatsoever. That will be a brand new presentation, which is, it's another kind of odd film, because it was supposed to be made in the late 80s, early 90s, right, Ryan?
Yeah, it was penned by people that made Copperhead.
Yeah, it's written by the writer and director of Copperhead, Leland, and he wanted to get this movie off the ground, and it just never happened. And then in the 2000s, his son, who's in Copperhead as a little kid, made the movie.
That's awesome.
It's batshit. So we're excited for people to see that. So anyways,
this brings up a good point. Somebody saying thank you for including cruelty-free cuts in your releases. You got this coming out for Copperhead. Is there a reason that you wanted to run with that?
That was that my decision?
I think we had that epiphany like the first time we met. Actually, it was like, we should definitely include that, because why?
Yeah, because I know, like, I understand like sometimes how people view violence in movies, especially when it comes to animals, which I'm a huge animal lover. myself. I'm not really, it doesn't really affect me when, like a snake dies, but I can understand when people do. So we try, I know that some people, as working in the home video industry and having those films like, Cannibal Holocaust and stuff like that. I can't watch the turtle die in that movie. Now that I go back, I can't actually watch the turtle die in Cannibal Holocaust. It's too much. It's weird. I have a weird like thought process and like what I can watch, what I can't. But the thing is one thing I have noticed is that when we were doing, talking about Copperhead, I was like, some of the snakes are already dead that they killed, but it's kind of hard to tell, in the movie, and there becomes, and I experienced this when I was with Vinegar Syndrome when we released the Rene Cardona collection. And there was the dog in the movie gets its throat slit. Well, I tried everything in my power to find out if that was a real thing, and it was not. That dog was not harmed in that film.
Wow.
Because we knew that because I can't remember if it's on the release, but in Mexico sometimes they shot the scene in English, and then they shot the same scene again in Spanish. So they didn't dub it. They just shot basically two movies. And the dog was in both cuts, and it has the same thing, just a different angle. So I was like, when I saw that, I was like, oh shit. And then I asked, Rene Cardona, I was like, did you kill a dog? And he's like, no,
or two of them.
That's my dog. He's like, we treated the people like shit. The animals got special treatment, and yeah, it's just. But the thing, my point is when that came out, no matter what I said, didn't matter because people made up their own minds.
Of course,
that I'm not going to watch it because there's animal death. Well, we solved it for you. You have a cruelty-free version, whether the snakes are dead or alive. You just don't see the snakes get fucked up.
That's good. I'm glad that a lot of people are choosing to do that on releases now. I think it's important as more people are willing to make choices like this. And I mean, it shows why there's, I'm sure at least one or both of you are aware of it. There's the website doesthedogdie.com where people can go on there and check for all kinds of random triggers that might be in a movie. I guess Ryan is just now hearing about it.
I don't know. I'm like so old that I don't know what's happening online. Like every time I talk to Brad, I'm like, what?
The website, like basically you could go on, and if you maybe you had a family member die from suicide, but because of that, you want to go on and check every single movie that you're going to watch if there's a reference to suicide, just in case. And so they have a list of like 75 things that they cover.
I mean, it's cool, actually.
Yeah, I mean, people can be triggered by certain, and that's the thing is like, it might not be me that gets triggered by that stuff. Like if a dog dies in the movie, I don't really give a shit. I would care if it was real. Well, the thing is, dogs die in the movies all the time. It's low-hanging fruit for the villain to like kill something quickly, so it never bothers me. But if I knew that dog died in real life, oh my God, I would burn that fucking house down.
That first sentence has to be the soundbite that gets clipped from this now.
But yeah, I can understand like with, it could be with anything. I remember watching, I didn't watch the video. I saw the comments where someone took this molten like I don't know, steel, and they poured it into an anthole, right? And they let it harden, and then they took all the dirt, and it made this like crazy. You got to see like how the ants built. Well, the comments on that of people killing ants was insane, and I didn't even think about the ants dying. I was just like, what is this going to do? What is going to be the final result? And then I realized the 10,000 comments on that video were people outraged about people killing ants. And I was like, oh, Okay, I understand. People don't want to see ants get killed, and that's fine. That's their own thing. I respect it. Whatever you want to watch, whatever you want to do, how you control your life, you can do whatever. But yeah, no, I even when I used to go, I mean, I still do go to Fantastic Fest. They have a film guide, and they have little icons on the films, and they're all kind of like trigger warnings. If there's like assault, if there's like suicide, if there's animal death, they actually have like a little like icon in there for people that really want to pay attention to that stuff. Which you can't really go wrong because everybody comes from a different background. Everybody is raised differently. We all have our own traumatic experiences. We all have different triggers. So that I get and respect. So yeah, that's the reason why the cruelty-free version, and we want people to watch this crazy ass shot on video movie.
I wish every label was doing that. It's a nice way to not alienate certain people from certain releases.
Yeah.
Especially when it's a subscription. That's the easiest thing. Is it would be rough if you were getting it and you were just super anti that sort of thing.
And just to clarify, it's not like we only did it because the real snakes are getting shot and fucking destroyed. We're not going to cut out movies where a dog dies, and doesn't really die in real life. We're not going to make versions of that. It's just that, the real cruel aspect of it, even if the snakes were dead, people can be sensitive, and I understand why, so it's the only reason it's created. So we don't really have anything else like that in the pipeline that I know of where there's actual animal death. But if there is, then obviously we will, address it.
Things in the pipeline. You've got so many things that you've hinted at on Twitter as coming from TerraVision. One of the things that is really exciting for me is stuff that many people have seen, whether it be film festivals or passed around as part of a director shopping stuff around 12 years ago, and then suddenly it's forgotten about. It seems like you guys are going to kind of great lengths to rescue some of these that just nobody seems to give a shit about anymore. First off, where are you finding those, and how does that process differ at all? Because it seems like if they've been out and available for so long, maybe it might be a little easier to acquire because nobody's showing an interest in them.
Yes and no. Where it all stems from is I've been going to film festivals for years, kind of all over, the U.S. at different times, so I've seen a lot of, film festivals usually have films that are not released yet. So a lot of these things go different, different ways. Is that there's sometimes they're foreign films, and a lot of distributors are scared of foreign films because they don't do well on the market. That's one. Two is that sometimes people just overlook things, and it's like they just assume they go after these bigger films that they know that will make them more money, and then the smaller things are forgotten about. That's two. The third one is sometimes they have really bad fucking sales agents, and the sales agents want like $100,000, and no one's gonna fucking pay that. So what happens is these sales agents, because they make a percentage, I hate sales agents. They go through the process of trying to upcharge rate, like have an exorbitant amount of money, and then it doesn't sell. It may sell in their home country, and that's usually what happens. It sells in other maybe foreign markets because they're more tolerable to reading, and subtitling or whatever. And then what happens is that the sales agent doesn't rep it anymore, and then the film just dies basically, and you have to find the producer, director, or just say, hey, what's going on with the film? And he's like, well, talk to the producer, he owns it, and then we can cut a deal. And typically it is obviously cheaper because the movie's they haven't made any money off the movie in 20 years, so who gives a shit? But it's all different. But typically it's because the film had poor sales agents where they thought about too much about the money rather than the film itself. Because you have to look at the grand scheme of things is that, one, yeah, foreign films do not as much because obviously people have, subtitles. I don't believe in dubbing, so you're going to have to fucking read.
Yeah.
But yeah, I with a lot of this stuff that it's not just even, foreign films, this can go for, English speaking as well, is that sometimes, again, they're just forgotten about, or they have a bad sales agent that just wants too much. And then after so many years, that happens. But a lot of time, like something that I've encountered a lot is just no one's ever asked because no one wanted to release it or maybe didn't find value in it. I don't know. Every film would have a different story, and it's almost impossible to tell what happened, because it just didn't happen. And that was one thing, like with Norway, is Norway was only released in its home country, and that's it. And it had a sales agent here, who, well, not here. I believe they're French, but it was just a low amount that they wanted for the license. And it was like, okay, cool. Let's go ahead and do that. So it's like I said, it's always kind of a different story, but a lot of like knowing. I've been going through the past like 15 years of film festival guides and what I've seen and like why hasn't this been out yet, and then just researching it and finding it and trying to get it. And we have quite a few of those. A lot of our more Ryan made me realize that 2007 was 15 years ago or something like that the other day, when I was just like, 2007, it's not that old. And Ryan's like, it's fucking like 15 years ago. And I'm like, oh shit. Yeah, it's a while ago. So, going through a lot of that stuff, no one's really approached these filmmakers for years, and sometimes a lot of these things only had DVD releases. And, now it's time to do a Blu-ray if we can, have quality or whatnot. But that's been the biggest joy for me, is because I did programming at film festivals. So I got to see a lot of stuff that never actually got into the festival and then just kind of was forgotten about, So that's something I've been really kind of enjoying, is going back and thinking like, oh, I screened this for a festival. It never got released. And then I look, and then it's never been released anywhere. And I'm like, holy shit. Like, how, like, and it's not, it's not the film's bad. It's just that a lot of time festivals are hard to get into.
Oh yeah.
Because 80% of the things that play at festivals are, nepotism, which is not a bad thing, but nepotism, obviously, star power in studios, and a lot of studios kind of take over. And it's like, if you want Netflix to sponsor your festival, you have to play these 10 films.
Yep.
Which is something that we're against of doing, like at TerraVision with that bullshit. And I understand why festivals have to do it, because they need the money. They have to stay alive. The reason why South by will play, 5 Netflix movies that are going to be on Netflix, it's because Netflix is probably giving them like $100,000 to stay afloat, which is fine. I get it. That's how it has to work. But because of all that stuff that happens, like 20% of films are only like early entries that they picked up. And look on Tuesdays and stuff. Look on digital of how many movies are released every fucking week.
That's true.
Just genre film. There's like 20, 30 genre films every fucking week, maybe even more. I think John Squires from Bloody Disgusting has like something where he focuses just specifically on every new release ever. I can't even imagine. I would, fuck that. That sounds like too much work. But the problem is that you have a lot of films that just fall by the wayside, and it's not because they're bad. It's just that, they didn't have a chance. And festivals, if your film festival's in 2023 and you made your movie in 2021, it's not going to play in the festival because your movie's 2 years old, even though it hasn't been released.
Yep.
So now it's too old to play at a festival. You don't have a sales agent that wants to pick up an old movie, So now your movie just kind of coasts, and you have to self-release it or put it online yourself.
And that's where we come in.
That's where television. So, but again, every film has a different journey. Everyone has a different backstory. But I'm aware of all this stuff that happens, just because I've been doing it for so long. So, we have some films that have only been, again, released in their home country. Some foreign films, or even some American films in there, or English speaking, I should say. But yeah, we're excited for all.
On the other side of all of this, we still have the music going on at TerraVision to talk about. We've got cassettes, we've got vinyl. On that front, Ryan, does it feel super different from when the music side started for TerraVision than what's going on with the video side at the moment?
No.
Well, that's kind of the point I wanted to make for people, is that a lot of this it's kind of chasing down the same sort of leads and getting the same partnerships going and just making that community be felt.
I feel like there must be something wrong with my taste, because no one is ever going after anything I'm going after.
Right.
I mean, I'm not saying that as a compliment to myself. It's actually probably me insulting myself. But, I typically, when I find the rights holders for various horror scores I want to do, when I track down the composer, usually, and this is not a joke, usually they'll say, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And I'm like, what? Yeah, yes, of course. Why would, yes, I'm here. Like, let's fucking roll.
Right.
Oh, okay. Like, it wasn't good then, and it's not good now. And I'm like, dude, it's great. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? So it's just a different. It's so fun. I don't know. The TerraVision, like, to put it in perspective, Graveface is really. I'm sure most people watching this don't run, an indie label. Graveface is super hard because you're dealing with traditionally contemporary bands that are actively touring, and every fucking band, doesn't matter if they start out small with like no dreams and ambitions, every band is inherently disappointed in the work that you do. I mean, for 20 years, that's what I've heard for 20 years. Like, I thought we would have you sold 30,000 units. We should have sold 35. Like, we sold 30,000 records. How are you not, filleting me? I'm kidding. My point is, gratitude would be nice, and it does not ever happen with Graveface, ever. And TerraVision is the literal polar opposite. Most composers tell me, I've never made this amount of money before. I'm not going to name names, but there's some famous people that I've worked with that are like, you've literally paid me more than I've made for like the last 10 movies I've scored from royalties, And I mean, it doesn't even feel like that much money. I mean, I guess it is a lot of money, but my point is, it's nothing but gratitude and excitement. Like, they're so excited that someone meaning me, has latched on to their work and wants to, expose it to more people. It's just really gratifying, and it's fun. Like, Graveface is a fucking beating, and TerraVision is fun. Now, that being said, I still put out records on Graveface, and I guess I'm a glutton for punishment, because I truly love what I do, and it's a little depressing, I'm not gonna lie, but it is what it is. That was a weird ramble.
No, it helps, because again, personifying the industry and the things that a lot of us genuinely love is important to see how that affects people. And when we have things like composers that are not making credits or money in a way that can support a family, when you're thinking, God, this is an iconic score, and I've heard this for decades. Like they should still be making money off of that. It's crazy to think that they're not able to do a damn thing until something like this comes along sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, it's wild to me how there's probably about half the people I work with at TerraVision gave up, composing for any other, accounting or being a photographer or whatever they had to pivot to because they're making such a small amount of money composing. And it's not like it's not like they're not getting hired or their work is bad. It's just the industry. A lot of that work for hire shit, they would pay $2 to $4 grand, and oftentimes give pretty significant demands. And you spend 2 months of your life composing, and you get $4 grand, and no one cares about your work. It's a little,
right.
I'm sure that's depressing, actually. So.
And then in that process, while they're only making $4 grand, they have stuff break down that they have to replace on their own dime. They have all kinds of stuff that goes wrong. So it's even worse.
Yeah. And I mean, some of these movies actually made decent money, and especially thinking of the VHS era, some of that home video show. I mean, some of these fucking VHS were selling tens of thousands of copies. Yep. Not that I get it. The composer's not they're not the reason for that, but it doesn't make it any easier to know that someone that may have scored something that is iconic to people not looking in hindsight, they just got their 2K and were told to fuck off. So that's just, hard. It's but it's fun. Like TerraVision's so fun. And like I said, everyone's so grateful and excited. It's really nice.
It's good to hear. It's very good to hear. Questions from the chat. Is there a genre, just for whatever reason, that doesn't interest either of you? Or is there something that you think that the label just will never pursue?
No.
I don't think, oddly enough, I don't even think in terms of genre typically. I mean, I am attracted primarily to documentaries and horror in general, but I mean, I love everything and Brad loves everything. So
yeah, no, I mean, I nothing's off limits. The only thing that doesn't interest me are movies that I don't like.
Which has nothing to do with genre.
yeah, it's all curated based off our taste. So there isn't like there isn't something there. I mean, whether it's a colonial drama or a shot on video.
We have 20 colonial dramas coming out. 20.
You can get the colonial drama only subscription soon.
No, we're doing them 20 separate releases.
Colonial dramas made in 1976.
The subscription will be $450, please.
Okay. Speaking of genre and documentaries, this thing is wild. Still does not get talked about enough. Any fun stories behind releasing this and putting this out? Because this, if anybody has not seen Love and Saucers, could you give like a 30-second elevator pitch of why people need to? And then on top of that, just how it came to be, because my God.
2 words, banging aliens. That's it. I mean, that's the pitch. Fucking go get it. Yep. I should note, I think the 3rd largest collection of his paintings, of Huggins' paintings, which for those that know nothing about me, it's probably for the best. But if you want to learn about me, I own a museum, one in Savannah, Georgia, and a smaller location in Chicago, Oddities Museum. But we're going to do a big exhibit of Huggins' paintings. Huggins being the guy the artwork that you're physically holding, that the movie is about. Yeah, that guy. That guy getting fucking railed. Yeah, he's a fascinating specimen. That's all I'll say. It's a blast to watch. I was really actually quite pleased with last year we put out 2 documentaries, and I was really happy with the overall reaction was really nice about both of them, which made me happy.
Yeah, it was funny because when we were early talking, because that was one of Ryan's like gets was Love and Saucers, and I knew of it because was sent to us at a film festival I was programming, and we actually turned it down because of how crazy it was. The thing that I found fascinating about it, because it doesn't really go to anybody's side. It's
Right.
not biased at all. But Ryan brought it to me and he was like, "Hey," and I was like, "It's weird. I'll rewatch it. Let's see." And I mean, I was on board with it anyway because I like the idea of releasing documentaries because that's one thing that is really hard to like sell. I think is because how many times do you watch a documentary?
Yep.
I mean, there are really great documentaries, which now I just realized that there's one of my favorite documentaries is on Blu-ray, so I'm going to text you after this. Um, and yeah, it's just like it's funny because they're so special and cool, but a lot of them don't have home video releases.
Right.
Especially now, they're just streaming because it's a doc. So yeah, we were kind of taken back of how successful, Love and Saucers and Blood, Guts, and Sunshine were, and we have a few others in the works. So we're pretty excited about. So
20. We have 20 more.
But many. Well, I mean, the thing is, like, yeah, it's like a wide range of docs, from just very odd scenarios, very odd stories that happen. I mean, obviously, we like, obviously, Ryan released this soundtrack to Unsolved Mysteries. Unsolved Mysteries is like little mini documentaries. It's cool.
Yeah.
All these little different things. So, anyways, yeah, no, we're pretty excited about that.
John Peters has a question. Any future bundle options where you might put out a blue and the soundtrack with it?
The problem is there's a lot of problems.
Well, the main problem that Ryan probably get to is that it takes so long to produce a vinyl record versus like if we really tried to get a transfer done on a movie, sometimes we could turn that around in just a couple months if we really pushed it. With vinyl, you can't really do that, so it's almost impossible to time it because we don't want to delay a release a fucking year or two.
No.
What's the point? So, I mean, will be some soundtracks coming out of films that we acquire, but they might be a year down the line. Not that we didn't, we're not going to do it for everything, but there are some things that we will be, doing. But, it's a lot of issues.
I will say, as you did at the very beginning of this broadcast, the intention, and I put a fairly substantial deposit down on it, maybe 7 months ago, is Graveface. Well, me. I am also opening a vinyl pressing plant. So the intention is not to serve the community, but to serve my own interests. Because I run currently 3 labels. I have another label called Never Not Goth. So it's like me alone. I spend so much fucking money annually pressing records that literally I will save. I won't even state the amount, but it's significant annually. So, but there's a huge waiting line. There's between waxwork and I probably shouldn't name. I have inside information, but there's 20 plants being installed in America over the next 2 years.
Wow.
Now, the cool thing is it's going to kick back to how it was in the 80s, where it's going to be hyper regional. So if you want something pressed in Nashville, here's your 4, pressing plants, and it's not going to diminish the industry. It's not going to, it will help the turn times in general, but it's not going to be like an oversaturation. Again, because a lot of the people behind this movement are recording labels. Like,
of course,
Secretly Canadian was actually the first that I know of that invested in a pressing plant, and that opened like 3 or 4 years ago. So that's who I talked to about it. I was like, oh yeah, that's a fucking no-brainer. I mean, you're opening manufacturing company, so it's of course a big deal. But yeah, if I'm not worried about other people's, I'm not going to be pressing records for a lot of people. It will be my company, and then compatriots. And my point with that is that doesn't get delivered to me until like next March, I think is the date. When I get that up and running, which would probably be 6 months after that, then we can start to get into a pattern where we can turn around a vinyl release, you know, very, very quickly.
Right.
So eventually, I know that was the longest answer of all time. Eventually, we could probably be doing that. But as it stands now, I get most of my shit pressed overseas. You know, the ship time is just, it takes a long fucking time. So
right. And I can't imagine through the whole COVID thing over the last few years that has helped anything with that situation.
I saw this one question. What is the submission process like for TerraVision? What do you mean? Like, what? Like, you mean submitting a film
or music, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, if you're talking about requests, we don't really take them.
What's that mean?
Unless it's colonial drama, then we'll think about it.
Did you see the comment on the colonial dramas too? Oh, where'd it go? I gotta find it. Will that be like all the Haunts box set from Severin called "All the Pilgrims Be Ours"?
We could do it. But yeah.
The last I had heard, the turnaround time on vinyl was averaging like 13 months. Has it gotten any different from then, or is it around that?
I'm grandfathered into a European plant, so my turnarounds have always been 3 months. Like I've never had any issues, but it's still 3 months, you know.
Yeah.
And that's 3 months after you have the proofs approved. So oddly enough, the proofing process with vinyl, because we do these like it's a very specific type of packaging that we do. It's very finicky. I can't think of a better word for it. And the proofing process takes longer than it should. Maybe it's partially because of the language barriers. I don't know. But I've been working with them for literally 20 years. So I'm grandfathered into a 3-month turnaround. So I haven't, I heard a lot of these issues during COVID with pressing plants and all that. I haven't experienced anything. But it's we're kind of bogged down. We use Earl Kess for all of our graphic design, who's by far the greatest ever.
He's fantastic.
And motherfucker is bogged down with work. So it's all work from us. So it's like it's hard to fast track things, Yeah. I actually wrote him today, which he didn't respond yet, but I had an idea to almost have not an intern in like a unpaid sense, but like someone that just does templates, like take this and put it into a template,
right?
Almost like a art fucking factory, because we have so much coming out that I think we're going to need. Not I think we're going. We will definitely need help in the art department to move this shit along faster. So again,
that's a good problem to have, though.
That's what I mean. 2023 in general, upon reflection, I know it's only fucking February 15th, but a year from now, I will be reflecting back and thinking, God damn, that was a lot of growing pains in 1 year.
Yeah.
Because that's the trajectory that we're on. So
that sort of thing is exciting, though, because the limitations of going from something that is, I hesitate to use the word small even, but the TerraVision as we know it now to what it might be on February 15, 2024, we are seeing a version of like experimentation, a version of trying different things with different types of results of just releases all across the board. And people can go along for the ride and they can see what is the results of being there and assisting a small company try things out. And when you see the actual results a year from now, that's exciting to know that you were a part of that and to see that you've been there since day one. So it's a really great time to start just plain flat out saying it, supporting a company like this.
Or they can watch from afar it burn like one of those tire fires. I'm kidding. It'll be great. It's just a little stressful, but it'll be fun.
I imagine it's very stressful. John is calling you the new Warhol factory. He was saying, do you accept submissions for shorts?
Oh, for shorts. Yeah.
That we would. Would.
Yeah, because we're slowly
working on
there's a lot of short films that are just forgotten about from all years, all decades. So we are looking to try to put together kind of a shorts package with like, I don't know, 25, 30 shorts on a disc, whatever we can fit, and kind of make it like a series. But no hard like date or anything like in place. We have discussed it many times though. Just because there are just a lot of shorts that are just online or play at festivals and then you never, ever see or hear of them again.
Yep.
So, but yeah, that is something on our list. So yeah, go ahead.
You think foreign films do badly? Just wait till we put out the short release.
Well, I mean, we kind of did with Fridge and everything else, and that did well. It's a kind of a collection of short films.
That's true.
So
you got the what is the title of the Ken Papiano, the turtle one
Snapper.
That's on there? Snapper, that's it. I was excited to see that on there.
Yeah, that's a cool piece. He did.
We wish that movie was actually finished because that would have been a hell of a fucking movie.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna have to remember I've got a contact for a French short that I might need to DM you there, Brad, for somebody that I know over in France that just played a few years ago. So all this is going on, and obviously there's a lot of stuff that people have never seen. What are some of the challenges to getting people to grab onto this? That if maybe they don't have the, I hate to use a word like allegiance, but like the loyalty factor of TerrorVision yet, or even understanding who Ryan and Brad are yet. What do you think that you might be doing to try to get some of these people to take a risk on some of these films?
I don't know why that question's funny. There's nothing funny.
I started laughing because I knew Ryan was going to laugh at it.
Well, because I'm such a negative fucking goofball that like the responses coming to my head are so sarcastic and
nobody's going to give a shit. Why would they do? Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. I'll let Brad field this question.
Well, I think the variety is going to differ so much that we will impress people, piss people off, shock people, and make people like just incredibly happy that they are getting something so different. So I think it's just going to be all of that and just like boom, I mean, that's what I truly think. And we're not doing it on purpose. Like the thing is, everything that we release, we stand behind.
Right.
But we know that if we have we have like a couple like kids movies, like in the sense, they're kind of genre adjacent, but they may not be everybody's cup of tea because they maybe want like some like splatterfest monster movie, which you'll get, but you might get this too. It
is what we want to do.
Huh?
I said it's simply just what we want to do.
Yeah, and it's just like come on the journey with us because the whole thing, and this kind of goes back to circle back to living vicariously through people watching stuff. I mean, it's very enjoyable for people to be turned on to new things because and I'll say this, and I don't mean this in a negative way whatsoever. But I do think way too many people, even if you say you're not closed-minded, you are closed-minded. Because I think way too many people look at that and they are stuck in a genre that they like. They would rather watch Suspiria for the 72nd time than venture off and experience something new. And that's their own prerogative. That's their own life. That's how they want to enjoy themselves. That's fine. But I do think a lot of people are kind of stuck in this like smaller realm. there's just so many movies that exist, and it's almost impossible to know about it. And so you kind of have like, someone curating that, pulling out these gems from all different genres, all different decades, all, different countries, and presenting it with, a Criterion level presentation and extras galore. And we believe in the product. We're not just dumping things on DVD like
Right.
other companies have done in the past. Bigger companies, no boutique labels or anything like that. But there was a time where these movies were just getting dumped on DVD, whether they were bootlegs or official releases. I don't even know. This is like in the late 90s, early 2000s. But with TerraVision, we can promise that everything is coming from, and it sounds cheesy and stupid, but from our hearts and from what we really love. We're not spending the time and money to do something. I mean, we are doing stupid things, but it's stuff that we like. But we're not doing anything to intentionally try to make somebody mad or troll you with the release. Right. You can just yell at us. Just say, why the fuck do you like this movie? And you're like, we just like it. I don't know what you want me to say.
Exactly.
But it's kind of living with us and enjoying what we do. So we have a really different outlook on having you kind of join this journey, is that we want you to enjoy it with us and experience. You may not like, and you're not going to love every movie. Guaranteed. You're not going to love every movie. But that's the beauty about taste. If everybody liked the same thing, of course, this would be boring, but we would be extremely successful. But yeah, I just hope people kind of grasp on the idea of there is something unique about TerraVision of, all labels kind of curate to their taste, but we're going to be very vocal about it. And it is going to be derivative. It's going to be different. It's going to be weird. Yeah, I just hope people enjoy it. And exactly, we're recreating the video store. You go to the video store, you have so many options. And it would be cool, and I've told this to Ryan numerous times, in 2 years from now, it would be awesome for anybody that buys physical media. Not hoards it and collects it or whatever, but anybody that actually physically buys Blu-rays. Whether they just have a small collection to 10,000, it'd be really nice if anybody that bought physical media had a TerraVision release in their library. Just one. That's all I care about. I don't care, if you don't buy every title, that's fine, but if you just have one, that means the world to us, because we achieved what we're trying to do.
Exactly.
So
that's awesome.
Well said, Brad.
Are you getting grumpy and tired?
No, I'd probably just need to throw up.
Ryan was sick earlier, by the way, for everybody. I don't know if that was said.
Yeah, we didn't know if you were going to make it.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you're going to make it, physically.
Well, we'll see. I've got another.
I didn't hear from you today. I was so worried.
Yeah, I had a lot of blood work, buddy. It was a good day.
Yeah.
It's nothing better than being in doctor's offices all day.
It's a good point. One more thing I had listed that I wanted to bring up just in case people didn't know about it, because I didn't know there were so many. Could you run down all of the physical locations? Because I know we got pop-ups, we've got museums, we've got records. What all is going on nowadays?
All right, fam. The flagship location is Graveface Records and Curiosities in Savannah, Georgia, 5 West 40th Street. Next door is the first TerraVision store we opened, which behind that is an arcade that I run. Behind that, so on a different street, that's how many spaces I've occupied. Something called Never Not Goth, which is goth clothing and shit. Also has records. All my stores have records and other shit. About a mile down the road is my massive museum. It's the size of a fucking Walmart. 2 stories right on the river in downtown Savannah. opening a mall location in 2 weeks, also in Savannah. I have a music venue called the Lodge of Sorrows. That's about a 500 capacity music venue, also in Savannah on the west side. It's not just a music venue. We do real weird. We do real weird shit. Actually, I've had the some of the make it succinct. Some of the surviving Heaven's Gate people have been living at the Lodge of Sorrows for a while, and we did an event with them in December, and we're doing another event with them on March 25th that I haven't announced yet. So it's just interesting stuff that appeals to my weird interests. And then in Chicago, it's like a weird combo of everything I just said in one building. And then the bottom floor is I've acquired the Odd Obsession video store, which was this incredible rental shop when I used to live in Chicago 20 some years ago. I'm reopened their video rental store. So that's in the basement of the Chicago store. And I think that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it. Yeah. And then, yeah, that is it. And I'll probably be opening I used to have a shop in Charleston, South Carolina. And some shit went down with the landlord, so I bounced, but I'm probably going to open another store there as well. So yeah, anyways, it's just
that's incredible.
It's something.
I'm going to have to go to Savannah sometime.
Savannah, I mean, no joke, like people at this point, since I opened the museum 3-4 years ago, the amount of people that come to Savannah literally to just do like the Graveface tour or whatever, meaning like all the locations I just said, it's insane. Like there's so many people that fucking come here to, I just collect weird shit. I didn't expect people to want to see it.
Right.
It's very weird. If you want to see any of that crap, I did I've done like what the fuck are these shows called? Like Carpetbagger on YouTube and Grim Life. Some of these like YouTubers that go travel around.
Yeah.
They've done episodes on the museum. So if you're curious of what some of that shit is, go do it. Brad's having a fucking field day.
I'm also looking at these comments. So do you own all of Savannah? And this is always great chatting with Brad and the mayor of Savannah, Georgia. That's what I'm laughing about.
I do kind of own Savannah. There's just no one doing anything here. And it's so fucking cheap, like there's no one doing anything. So why not?
Yeah, I mean, if it's available and you can afford it and make a headquarters, basically, why? Yeah, genuinely, why not? If you can spread it like that and survive and thrive, yeah, there's no reason not to. Do what you enjoy. Hell yeah.
I don't know that I would be so liberal with the word thrive, but yeah, I see what you mean.
I mean, 7 locations in 2023 could be argued as thriving.
If you saw the bank account, I think you wouldn't feel the same way.
Ryan, you just said that you're opening a mall location in 2023.
It's so fucking cheap. All right, sidebar. They approached me and they wanted, I'm just gonna be fucking transparent as shit. It's an old, I don't even know what it is, but it's called Hollister. It's some, I've never been there. I don't know anything about it, but it's
You mean the clothing company?
I don't know.
That's what it sounds like to me.
It's like 6,700 square feet, massive space. Looks like vaguely tiki build out, but
yeah,
it's the clothing company. Yeah.
Anyways,
this clothing company called Hollister?
I don't know what's going on. I just built my own universe, and I live in
it. Across from this Abercrombie and Bitch company.
But they're partners or something.
They were like, we want you in here, but it's going to cost you $6,500 a month. And I was like, peace. So then they were like, how about $3,500? And I was like, peace. And then they said $2,500. And I was like, peace out. Thank you so much. And they kept going lower. and lower and lower. So it's cheaper than I got it down to a point that's cheaper than my smallest store, which is fairly cheap. And it's,
Weird.
4 times the size, 5 times the size. I don't know, man. I think because I'm the mayor of Savannah, I think they're hoping that I bring people to their dead, decrepit fucking mall.
Right.
And I will. I fucking will. That's the thing. So they're not wrong, but those people aren't going to shop at the other stores. They're going to come take a look at this dumb thing that I've done, and then they're going to leave.
And that is the definition of thriving.
I don't even know what to say, and I talk to you like multiple times a day.
Yeah, you're kind of like my mom. My mom is like, "What do you do? What do you do for a living?"
Oh my gosh! My dad passed in 2021. Till the day he died, he had no idea what the fuck I did. I always tried to explain it. And before I got fully into doing home video stuff and producing like full time, I was a pharmacy manager, and he would just tell people I'm a pharmacist, which wasn't the same thing. And like he would be at the doctor, and he'd be like, "Talk to my son. He's a doctor." And I'm like, "No, that's not the case." And I'll never forget.
Oh man.
My mom went to she had to go to Ohio because my grandmother wasn't doing so well, and being my dad was elderly, he couldn't really be alone all that time for several hours. So I went over, and he's like, "Why don't you bring some of those movies that you've worked on over?" And I brought him like, I don't know, it was like 15. I was there for like 5 days. Brought him like 15 or 20 like Vinegar Syndrome titles that we've, that Vinegar Syndrome released. So I put on The Suckling, and my dad watched it, and he turned and he goes, "Do they know that you made this?" And I said, Dad, I didn't make it." And he's like, you're gonna get fucking fired." He's like, "If you make things like this, you're gonna get fucking fired." He literally thought I made the fucking movie. It was just one of the funniest things. Like, try to tell him, like, no. Still, he never understood. He just never understood. But anyways, yeah. Anyways, you said I'm like your mom. That's cool.
I heard her introduce me to somebody in passing once, and she said, "My son's a record producer." And I was like, and at that point, I had never produced a record. I just released records. Now I actually, funnily enough, have produced records. But prior, when this conversation happened, and I had to intervene and was like, no, I don't think you know what that means. And so I actually tried to explain to her and her friend what I do. And they just looked at me like I'm a fucking moron. They're like, "Well, what do you mean facilitate the manufacturing and distribution? Like, what does that mean?" I'm like, huh. Like you'd really have to almost like teach a class because it's not easy to just understand, I guess.
That's true. We had one question a long time ago. I'm not gonna be able to scroll and find it because it's like 400 comments ago. But somebody's asking, and I'm not sure that you'll be able to or even want to give a good answer to this. But when we were talking about the success of this first year, people have always wondered like how these subscriptions do. Could you share how many rough numbers or even somewhere subjectively to say how many people subscribe to TerraVision on this first try so far, or the cassette club or the vinyl club, anything?
LP club's 500, cassette club is 200. But I mean, those are like maxed out numbers.
Right.
I mean,
not always.
Yeah. Like cassette club, I think we have 5 memberships available right now. LP club, maybe 20 remain. And every release that cycles out, right? So like, right. Because people can join anytime, and then you get with the LP club, you get the next 6 releases. So, Chloe will send renewals, which we do renewals at a cheaper rate than when you initially sign up. So you save $15, but some people just don't have the funds, which I get it. It's not everyone wants all the dumb shit I'm putting out, so I get that. but then, you know, we might have 50 spots available for Neon Maniacs, and then we can advertise again, not advertise, but you know what I'm saying, advertise that we have 50 spots available. Now would be a good time to join. The video club is just over 300, so it's not many people. But there's really no max out point with the video club. That being said, I don't foresee it ever exceeding 500, because that's like the universe that TerraVision is in. I just don't see it ever really expanding beyond that. Having run the company for many, many, many years, it's just too niche. All the products are just very, you either get it or you don't, you know?
I say Ryan's full of shit about.
I was almost gonna say that. I'd almost argue that that's being a little underestimating what we might be.
That's
able
what
to
Ryan
do here.
does. That's what he does. So, like, but
I've been running the company for years.
this is different, Ryan.
Well, but it doesn't change the fact that we have 300 members now.
At the moment, and I think once you get more of these under your belt and people are seeing what's coming out soon, like the fact that people can join at any time is, and this is going to sound silly, but like extremely innovative compared to what we have out there for subscriptions.
That's the thing. When I started TerraVision, we launched with a club. You know,
Right.
we didn't launch with some releases, and then I was like, I should do a club, because Graveface had already had the Graveface Record Club for like 10 years prior, and that's 10 releases for $200. But that's because it's much cheaper packaging. The licensing fee doesn't exist because you're recording new bands and so forth. But so I already had that sort of foundation in place when I started TerraVision, and the amount of confusion about how we do the clubs, because no one else runs them like that. You know, because everyone mostly does, you know, you're joining for 2023, or you're joining for like Waxwork, for example, with records. You get these, I don't even think it's 6 releases. I think you get these 5 releases. That's it.
That's it.
Fuck off, you know? Whereas to me, that's not the point of a club. To me, the point is I open these things up for people that are really into what I do, and I want them to have all of it. Like, that's literally the point. And you could join at any fucking time, and Chloe will write you and say, hey, we're going to start you with this new release, unless you want to, you know, we've got these extra copies. There's usually not a ton, but we've got some extra copies of some back catalog stuff. We can start you with that if you want. Like, it's literally customer driven.
Yeah.
So there is no predetermined, you can start with whatever the fuck you want. Meaning, if you know, heard the end of the line announcement today and that's what you want to start with, cool. Like, I'm cool with that. But if you want to get Attack or even Santa, like, let's do it. It's so simple. I mean, we have to have the copies available, obviously, but yeah, so long as we have, like, someone joined the cassette club today specifically because they had missed our release of Friday the 13th last month, and I had promoted at that point in time that we had a couple of club spots left, and you could get it, right? Because the retail version's long since sold out. So someone joined today wanting that, and luckily we have, you know, 4 or 5 left. So
Nice.
they were stoked, and they get to start with a release that they wanted, and then they get everything moving forward. So, you know, I don't think of it as being innovative at all. I think of it as being like easier.
Right.
My wife would disagree with that because she's the one that has to organize all of these. Every person is buying different stuff and wants different stuff, so it's actually not uniform, and it's a significant amount of work. And quite frankly, we probably need to hire someone so she can focus on the museum and just do the club, you know. But yeah, I mean, I think it's cool as fuck, and it the only hurdle where Brad and I are going to have as it pertains to the video club is really figuring out, like we've talked about earlier, when we get to 4 releases a month, like, you know, your subscription would be over in a month and a half or 2.5 months.
Yeah.
So, but we'll get there.
Or it'll be just over in October as soon as you sign up. This is 10 releases. So
Yeah, I mean, the 10 thing just made sense at the time because we didn't have such a crazy schedule. So
Right.
we'll figure it out. It's and I think the simplest way to do it would be quarterly, honestly, because then it's you know, if we have a schedule built out and quarter one is 14 titles, it'd be easy for us to do the math and say, well, the discounted club rate is so and so, and I don't fucking know. We'll figure it out.
That's when you were just starting out, it made the most sense. You only had a handful that were on the verge of coming out. You got to start something going, and yeah, that's all you needed at the time. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad you did that. I'm glad that people get an opportunity, and that whole, do you want the next release? Do you want the last one that we did? That personal aspect, I only know of it happening with one other subscription, possibly, out there in home video stuff. So it is so personal that it's hard not to gravitate towards something like that. So yeah, I will stand by. I think 300 is vastly underestimating what is possible.
Yeah. I think I upset Jeremy Long. He keeps saying that thriving, I shouldn't have used that word thriving. I'm not belittling anything, my friend Jeremy.
Jeremy Long is a stand-up comedian and a friend of mine. He's trying to get me to highlight his jokes.
Oh, okay, good. All right.
That's it. He's not mad.
It reads as though I triggered him. So, but I guess that's the joke. Got it.
Yes.
Yeah, because I definitely am not trying to offend. So
the Neon Maniacs, the fact that you are bringing that poster, oh my god! Like I highlighted that thing like crazy. I'm so glad that was it Turkish or whatever poster is being released.
Yeah,
that's incredible. That is such a brilliant idea to do that.
Well, that's Earl is just so good at we try with the LP releases, we try to take original elements and make them feel new. And he is, because so many labels, and I get why they do it, Mondo Waxwork, well, I don't even, there's really not that many labels left anymore, actually.
Balls,
which is now just Mondo, but
sadly.
Yeah, it's sad. Anyways, they're all about the new art creation for their titles, which is cool too. And that's just nothing. I'm such an 80s child that going into the video store, that's why Brad and I connect so well. It's like, I think about it to an unhealthy degree, how much I miss my Friday nights with my dad, and he would, rent me 4 titles, and I would usually rent one that's weirder or maybe more drama filled for myself that I wasn't comfortable, with playing for my friends, and then have a bunch of kids come over and we would watch the other 3 like ridiculous horror movies and bond over that shit. But that experience, it's weird to me how attached I am to it. It lasted so many years because I was born in 81. So we started I remember going to the video store starting in, 86, 87, until I left Toledo, Ohio in 1997 or something, So it's, I did that same thing every Friday for a long time. So I guess that's why it's like programmed in my head. But if we can provide anyone even close to that experience with these records or these, Blu-ray releases or even these cassette releases, then I'll honestly kind of die happy. Like that would mean the world to me, to know that someone's getting that same sort of little, I don't know what I'm trying to say. It's special.
There's the definition of thriving.
Yeah.
Somebody named Lawn Furniture wants to know if you have any more 4K titles on the horizon outside of Happy Hell Night.
So, that's something I guess we didn't talk about. So, like, there is, I guess, this thing where, obviously UHD is kind of the big thing now, but I mean, people always have to realize that 2K, 4K, UHD, they're all different things.
Yep.
And I don't think people grasp that. Sometimes you can have a movie scanned in 4K, but it not have UHD capabilities,
Right.
which does happen. And yes, we do, obviously. But there are just certain things that aren't capable, like we're not capable of doing. We will not be announcing a movie on Blu-ray and then a year later doing a UHD.
I fucking hate that.
That's so stupid, and you'll never
Don't we
see
all?
us do that. If UHD is possible and makes sense, we will do it. You know, it's you also have this aspect of like UHD costs probably like 3 times as much
Yep.
to put a UHD disc out than a Blu-ray. So not every title we can like not I don't want to say warrants a UHD, but we have to be smart about the decision on the aspect of if it's going to sell, because it's a lot of money putting into these things. And sometimes, like with newer films, for example, newer films are easier to put on UHD because obviously the equipment that they're using to shoot the films. But not all that stuff can be warranted for a UHD because not everybody has upgraded. So we're not going to have a UHD as one release and a Blu-ray on the other side because that cost of manufacturing is insane, especially for a small business like ourselves.
Right.
We can combine them with the UHD and the Blu-ray, which we will. But again, that's very costly. So older films, if we have the negatives and we're able to do it properly, that's the other key word here, is that it's easy to say it's easy to fake or not do it properly on UHD, and that's something we'll never do. The UHDs that we release are 100% truthful in the sense of the material that we have and its range and capabilities. So if there's a 4K scan on a film, doesn't mean that there's a UHD in the works in the future. Also doesn't mean that it was possible to do UHD, because you can do a 4K scan on a print of a movie.
Yep.
But you could do a UHD of a print, but it's not true UHD. You're lying. And that's something we'll never do.
It's good to hear.
So, and plus we can't fucking afford we won't be able to afford it. We're putting so much money into all these other different releases. So it's kind of like, I don't know. We'll be honest, because we are talking about developing kind of a podcast and talking about the releases and the future of these releases and kind of history of them and what we're using as far as like elements and what we did, what are the capabilities, because, we want to do the best presentation again, but, then it's almost, then you kind of like contradict yourself and you're like, well, that the best presentation would probably be UHD on this film, but does this small little new independent film warrant a UHD right out the gate? But I'll tell you that we won't be doing a UHD, even if it does well. I think that's wrong to do it. I've seen that way too many times, especially nowadays, and it's frustrating to the people that are buying stuff. So, and not everybody's made of money, and movies aren't cheap.
Absolutely.
And buying a movie twice or 3 times is fucking stupid.
It's fucking bullshit. It pisses me off.
It's good to hear. Lawn Furniture also wants to know if the SOV pod is dead.
Oh man, do I know Lawn Furniture? Yeah, so I think it's officially dead. Just because podcasting was kind of a big thing, for me, because I get it, you get to live vicariously of recommending titles. So the Screamcast obviously was a long thing that I did, and it did incredibly well. I mean,
it was wonderful.
At the height of what we were doing, we had like 16,000 listeners, which was fucking insane. That many people would want to hear me ramble. The SOV podcast was obviously very niche, and we had a lot of fun doing it because it was just all a joke. The whole thing was a fucking joke. but we enjoy talking about the films and enjoyed the fake personas and the fake sponsorship that we eventually got. I don't think we got in trouble for it. We kept saying Arby's was the sponsor of the podcast, and we tagged them like in all the stuff online. But yeah, I got too busy doing this, and it's more productive. So podcasting is something that I had to set aside, but we are discussing about doing it for the brand and the because I just think it's right to inform people. And people like to be informed. They don't like surprises, and we don't want anybody to be surprised. We're
Right.
going to tell you like the truth. We're not going to be like, oh, we're releasing this movie from the 80s and you're going to think it's going to be this UHD. Like, no, it's a fucking tape master. You know? But this is the best presentation you're going to get, but we love it. So, because we have, man, I'm excited. We have a lot of cool shit in the works.
That's good. A couple more comments for Ryan. Love seeing the cassettes pop up in the Dino Drac Fun Packs too, and with exclusive colors, always makes those boxes and releases feel special.
Thank you, Austin.
And then Dylan says, Ryan, my dad and I connect over catalog Blu-rays and 4Ks all the time. One of our many bonding things. Glad to hear that's where you're coming from.
Yeah.
I mean, there have been, I think 3, if not 4, that have said that they are subscribing tonight, and a couple have bought individual titles. This has just been fantastic. I think again, something like that podcast is a really great way to connect with these people. And obviously, when that personality is something that aligns with somebody, they'll support in both directions. So I'm glad that you guys are connecting to people, and I'm glad that we are able to just see this success, and hope it continues.
It's all about transparency too. Like you have to be, we're not going to give you the full on fucking business aspect of what we're doing and all that shit,
Right.
But the thing is, we can be honest because you are giving us money to do this stuff, and it's only right. And yeah, I mean, because what we're doing, again, to reiterate, and we'll say this probably a million times, is that we are trying to preserve everything. So, I mean, we even have a film that we acquired. It's an 80s film. And the dude has 2 reels, reel 2 and 5 of the negative. He's lost 1, 3, and 4. But he has a print of the full feature. So what we should do, if we were smart, we would just scan the print and then call it a day. But being that we're idiots, we're going to scan those 2 reels of the negative, and obviously we can't do UHD because you can't do UHD on a print, or you can, but again, you'd be lying. Well, we're going to Frankenstein it together. Good. And the quality will shift a tiny bit, but that's the breast. I like breast too. And that is the best presentation in the sense of that's how you should do it, even if there is that jump in quality. But, I haven't told Ryan this, but probably for a B feature, we'll just scan the print and not restore it. So you have it like with its all scrapes and bullshit. So now you get like 2 versions, which would be, I think is pretty fucking cool. But anyways, like, so stuff like that. Because we want to actively try to do the best presentation. But yeah.
That is so refreshing and rare to hear nowadays. It's just amazing to see that somebody's so dedicated to that. I mean, one of the things, and I think you and I talked about this when you were on the first time, the way that some of these directors are changing up the color timing is the most popular thing right now, that they're making stuff have this green tint or whatever. That's fine if you want to do that, but like you just said, it really benefits everybody if you have both versions of the film available. I mean, some of these people, they grew up with something from 1983 and have visualized this movie 800 times, and for you to suddenly change it in 2017 and sell it to the masses as a 4K, that's a completely different movie.
Yeah
we won't. I don't like changing the movie any capacity. I mean, if the director wants to do that, we will, but it will be a B feature or a bonus. haven't really encountered that yet. But for something, for example, this movie that I'm talking about with the two reels of the negative, is that the film was never presented in the correct aspect ratio on VHS. The
Oh, wow.
director was fucking pissed about it. So if you go back to the VHS, you won't get that version because
Right.
it's not the correct aspect ratio. It's actually cropped. So we won't be presenting the original version of that movie that you're maybe not. I don't think anybody's going to be used to it because I don't think anybody really knows about the movie, but it is this like lost 80s like monster movie. But anyways, so like stuff like that, we won't be doing. But we're also, another thing that we do at TerraVision, and this is mainly like in the deal wheelhouse, is that we are kind of filmmaker first. Not that we kind of are filmmaker first. So, because a lot of stuff that we acquire are from the filmmakers themselves, to where they get involved into doing. I mean, Love and Saucers, for example, the director did all the special features, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He
So,
took
like,
care of everything.
if they want to be involved in that capacity, then sure, why not?
Nice.
Because we want them to be happy with the release. We want them to be, championing it. We want them to talk about it. We don't want to piss anybody off,
Yeah.
But we do have to like kind of put our foot down and be like, I'm going to digitally remove this. No, let's not do that, And if they insist on it, we can put it as like a bonus cut or something like that.
Right.
But yeah, no, we're also filmmaker first because we want people to ride the success with us and be happy with the product. Because if they don't, then what's the fucking point? They made the movie. We didn't. Half these movies that we're releasing, we weren't even fucking born yet.
That's true.
So,
I was.
it's like a 3-year difference. Talking about like the 60s and 70s stuff.
Yeah, I was alive.
The way you act, yeah, you old fuck. So
this
anyway.
has been incredible. I can tell Ryan wants to go to sleep. I can tell Brad wants to go try to acquire 12 more films tonight. The questions have calmed down quite a bit. I hope in 6 or 8 months maybe we can do this again and check in where we're at in those that checklist of 60 films for the year.
Yeah.
Anytime. Thank you for having us.
Of course.
But we will leave you with one thing for the people that did stick around. We can give you an exclusive.
Oh God.
Why am I on the full channel here?
Oh,
it's exclusive.
Yeah, put him back big. It's fun.
Oh,
no,
it's
don't do that. No, don't do that. I won't say it. I won't say it. So one of the cool things that we did mention about films that aren't out yet. This movie isn't out in America as of yet. It will be out potentially, hopefully in April. We have it slated for, depending on the release. But we actually have the remake of Cube coming out on our label. So they remade Cube in Japan.
Yep.
And we'll be releasing that in kind of cahoots and our partnership with Screenbox. That they're going to be streaming it, and we're going to be doing the physical release.
Wow.
UHD to be determined, because we don't know if the film was actually mastered in UHD. So Blu-ray for sure. We're still waiting on the files to see if it has a UHD capability. And that will be announced down the line. But yeah, that's, there's your very contemporary title that is basically brand new.
Yeah.
So we're excited about the remake of Cube.
Very, very funny happenstance. I just recorded a portion, like my own segment to go on somebody else's podcast about things that I want to see released on Blu-ray, and one of them is I would love to see a Cube box set, and I mentioned I would love to see that included. That's incredible. That's fantastic.
Yeah, we're pretty excited about it. We'll see how the audience kind of thinks of a remake of Cube, which is kind of they did kind of a psycho aspect to it, where they literally like remade it.
Oh wow.
But it's fun, you know. It's a cool movie, and yeah, it's just been kind of. It came out in like 2021, and it just never made its way over here.
Nice.
And I got to see it, you know, about a year ago, and when we had the opportunity, it was fucking great. You know, we took it, snagged it immediately. So yeah, we're pretty excited about that. But April, possibly.
That's incredible. Yeah, I can't wait to see that. And then the whole partnership with Screenbox. That's a big deal. That's pretty damn cool.
Yeah. Screenbox, you know, we had a good relationship with like Brad Miska from Bloody Disgusting and what they're doing over at St. Diamond, everything like that. And it's just so they've been very cool, like incredibly cool with us and allowing us to do cool things with them. So we're very excited about what the future brings with that. Because obviously they've done the Pennywise documentary they've released, and they've done the Terrifier 2 release. So you know, it won't be everything, but it is kind of this cool relationship that we have with them that we're gearing up to do some cool shit. So
that's incredible. Fantastic. And not to promote myself at the end of this, but if you ever want to ask Brad any more questions, Brad is a patron of the channel and in the Discord. So if you ever want to just hang out, join the patron in the description below and come ask away, just as long as it's not about rights about prom night 2.
Yeah, no prom night 2 questions. But yeah, you want to talk about old Ryan. I was trying to fucking jump on the Discord, and I didn't know how it operated.
I don't even know what that is. I have no idea what you're even talking about.
Dude, it is like one of the most incoherent like apps I've ever seen in my life. I don't know how it works.
Discord is an app?
Yeah. Well, it's like a social media thing. And so like I basically have just 2 things I have to click on because I know where those generate.
Yeah.
But it's like a spider web of like links. You click on one thing and then it brings like 10 other things, and
that
then
sounds
those
nauseating. That sounds nauseating.
It's awful. And I like being part of the channel, but man, Discord is the craziest fucking thing.
Did
like
you ever hang out in chat rooms, Ryan?
Come on, listen to me. No, I don't know what. I have no idea what's going on at all, man.
So it's basically like a chat house, and each room is a different type of discussion. So you come into something that is one community, and each of the separate channels in this community is generally for some sort of topic. So like on our Discord, we have something for release announcements. We have, if you watch a movie, you can go post a review and talk about it. You can see what people are watching at the time. There's all kinds of different rooms.
How do you know if someone's in there?
Because it will. You can choose to get notified every time somebody posts something. The crazy thing is we have like 50+ people in our Discord now. So if you have notifications on, it is active, and there's a lot of notifications.
I don't. I just think I see mentions maybe, but no, yeah. I couldn't do that because people treat it like a chat room. It's not like a tweet or like a comment.
Yeah,
it's literally like a chat. I mean, yeah. So, but it's too much. Huh?
Is it just a message board?
Kind of, but it's not public either. Only people that have been allowed to join are the ones that can see it.
It's an exclusive message board.
Yes.
Look, cult. Yeah,
it is a cult. Yes.
Yeah, I'm waiting for Ryan to bring in religion to his Discord, and then I have to run and leave. Then I get scared.
Me?
No, both of you are named Ryan.
That's true. Yet? Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you said
anyways.
I was like, what?
That was a weird dissertation. But yes, thank you again for everything tonight. This has been amazing. For everybody else, like I said, if you want to ask more and have some free range Brad, come on in and hang out in the Discord, and we'll see you next time.
Oh,
it was the perfect way to end it.
That almost made me throw up. I don't